Today, we're going through the 4 business types with some of the highest failure rates in the country, counting up from the most survivable to the most brutal. Let's get into it. Starting with the one everyone already assumes is on this list, restaurants. The reputation is actually worse than reality. You've probably heard that 90% of restaurants fail within their first year. That number has been floating around for decades, and it is not true. According to a study co-produced by the US Bureau of Labor Statistics and UC Berkeley, only about 17% of restaurants fail within their first year, which is actually lower than the average first-year failure rate for most other service businesses. So why is it on this list? Because the long game is brutal. Only about 35% of restaurants are still operating at the 10-year mark. That's why every time you visit your hometown, another restaurant has been replaced by a mattress firm. And the reasons are almost always the same. Razor-thin margins, labor costs, a menu that's too ambitious for a new kitchen, and underestimating how much cash you need to survive those slow seasons before you've built up a loyal customer base. The restaurants that actually make it treat it like a business first and a passion project second. They know their numbers cold. Food cost percentage, labor cost percentage, average ticket size before they open the doors. They start simple and expand the menu as the team gets stronger. And they build a local following fast because a restaurant without regulars is just counting down. Moving on to number 3, construction. Construction has a first-year failure rate of 25%, which is one of the highest of any industry. And about 66% of construction businesses are gone by year 10. What makes construction tricky is that it doesn't look risky from the outside. Demand is consistent, skilled tradespeople are in short supply, the work is always there, and it's certainly not going to be replaced by AI anytime soon. So why do so many construction businesses fail? Cash flow timing. Here's how it works in practice. You win a contract, you buy materials, you hire labor, and you start the job. The work gets done over weeks or months, and then you wait to get paid, sometimes months after the job is complete. Meanwhile, while you're waiting to get paid, your crew still needs to be paid every week. Your suppliers need to be paid, and your equipment still has cost whether it's being used or not. A single delayed payment from a client can cause a cash crisis that takes out an otherwise healthy construction business. The construction businesses that survive long-term do a few things consistently. They negotiate payment terms aggressively, deposits up front, milestone payments throughout, not everything on completion. They keep a cash reserve specifically for the gap between doing the work and getting paid. They get the right licenses and insurance in place before they need them, not after. And they build a reputation because referrals are everything in this industry, and one nightmare project that goes sideways can undo years of goodwill. Fun fact, the word bankruptcy comes from the Italian bancarotta, which literally means broken bench. Because in medieval Italy, if you couldn't pay your debts, someone came and literally broke your work table in the middle of the marketplace. So the next time someone says they're going bankrupt, just know it used to be a lot more dramatic. Brace yourself, tech bros. Number 2, tech startups. Tech startups have a 5-year failure rate of around 63%. And we rank them second on this list, not just because of the failure rate itself, but because of what's usually at stake when they fail. Tech startups often involve significant capital, either from investors or from founders who have put everything they have into the business. So when a tech startup fails, the financial consequences tend to be larger and harder to recover from. According to CB Insights, which analyzed hundreds of startup postmortems, the number 1 reason tech startups fail is building something nobody actually wants. 42% of failed startups cited no market need as a primary reason for shutting down. That's a crazy stat. The second most common reason is running out of cash, which often happens because the product took longer to build than expected, or because customer acquisition costs were higher than expected, or because the path to revenue was less clear than it looked in that fancy little pitch deck. Tech startups that survive talk to customers obsessively before building anything and find evidence that people will actually pay for what they're building. They hire people who will complement their weaknesses rather than just mirror their strengths. And they manage their cash with the same discipline a bootstrapped business uses, even if investor money is in the bank. The other thing worth knowing, most overnight tech success stories took about 10 years. The founders who make it are usually the ones who stayed in the game long enough to find what actually worked. The number 1 business on this list isn't one most people think of as high risk. It doesn't involve heavy equipment, a restaurant lease, or investors breathing down your neck. The business with the highest failure rate is the information sector, which covers media companies, publishing, content businesses, podcasts, newsletters, digital platforms, and anything built around producing and distributing information. These businesses have the lowest 10-year survival rate of any mainstream industry in the country, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Only 29.1% of information sector businesses are still operating at the 10-year mark. And here's the thing that makes this one so dangerous: it's incredibly easy to start. Some would say too easy. All you need is an idea and an internet connection. That low barrier to entry is part of what makes the failure rate so high. The ease of starting attracts a lot of people who haven't actually thought through how the business is going to make money. The information businesses that survive long-term treat revenue as the first problem to solve, not the last. They build owned audiences like email lists and direct relationships, rather than depending entirely on borrowed platforms that can change their algorithm at any time. They diversify their revenue across multiple streams: ads, subscriptions, events, courses, services, so that no one thing going away brings the whole thing down. If you're building something in this space, this isn't a reason to stop. I mean, come on, I literally make YouTube videos for a living. We know this world, but we also know that the ones who make it treat it like a business from day one. So what do all four of these businesses have in common? They all have passionate, committed founders who genuinely believe in what they're building. And that passion, the thing that gets you started, is also the thing that can blind you to the business fundamentals that actually determine whether you survive. At Northwest Registered Agent, we help business owners get the foundation right from day one, whether you're opening a restaurant, launching a startup, or building a media brand. The legal structure, the registered agent, the compliance reminders, none of it is glamorous, but all of it matters. And getting your business set up right from the start is one less thing to worry about. Link in the description if you're ready to get started. And if you're curious on the top 4 businesses that rarely fail, check out this video here. And drop a comment below. Which one of these 4 surprised you the most? I want to know.